Here's how Umano presents your team's stability as an indicator of how stable and therefore predictable your team's work practices are sprint on sprint. In this case, a score of 100% indicates that no changes have been made in your sprint after you've commenced it. In other words, you are 100% stable for that sprint. Where stability is defined as the percentage amount of change in the scope and requirements after the start of an interval. Here, the solid line is your interval's actual score, plotted against your dotted line being your team's rolling median or your usual way of working, giving you an instant view of whether you are more or less stable than usual. The sprint stability score is supported by various callouts, which indicate activity that has impacted your stability score for that particular interval. In this case, for the selected sprint, we can see that stability has decreased based on issues being removed, change in story points, and change in issue titles. When I drop down to look at all of the assigned issues and what changes have been made, Umano presents teams with the data points to understand what changes have occurred and therefore the impact that it's had on that stability score for the particular sprint. In this case, we can see all of the issues as 23, issues specifically added, changed, or removed. What Umano also does is indicate where in your interval the changes occurred, and for any of the items that have changed, we detail what elements of that issue has been affected and therefore what's impacting your overall stability. By giving teams this context, you get live input to take into your stand-ups or into your retros to really understand any patterns that may be occurring around what changes are occurring during a sprint so that you can really ensure higher levels of predictability and therefore observe the impacts of that predictability on other metrics like your team's completion rate. For the filters, you can change your view of your chart to remove the rolling performance, and you can also scan out to get a longer term view of how this particular metric has changed over time, and indeed whether you've been actively working on creating greater stability in your way of working. And so that concludes how Umano showcases your team's sprint stability.